Do you want to wake up feeling like you're stepping into who you're meant to be, into the best possible version of you? What if I told you that the key to your best life, health, and happiness are all around you? You just have to find what works for you. I'm Hope Pedraza, and I believe that there isn't just one way to live a healthy and meaningful life, and that all you need is a little inspiration to make changes that last from the inside out. Each week, I'll be sharing tangible tips and inspirational interviews to help you on your journey. These are the steps to take to improve your life and live with purpose. This is Hopeful and Wholesome. Hey friends, welcome back to Hopeful and Wholesome. We are on episode 3 of my series about untangling the worthy equation and really breaking free from that hustle and into ease and flow with your health and success and business and all the things. And in this episode, I want to talk about overgiving and how to stop overgiving and start receiving and breaking that cycle. And if this isn't, the title itself isn't resonant, just give me a minute because I'm pretty sure you'll be able to relate. So if you've ever been the one who's always holding everything together in your home, in your business, in your relationships, you find it hard to ask for help or to receive support, even when you feel like you're at your wit's end and you're overwhelmed and you have anxiety and all the things, this episode is for you. We're going to talk about why overgiving is keeping you stuck in exhaustion, why it's keeping you depleted, why it's causing your chronic health issues. And again, if you still don't think you're an overgiver, just keep listening because I'm pretty sure this is talking to you. This is going to speak to you because I would say the majority of women are overgivers, even if we think we're not overgiving. And because I think a lot of times women think they have to consciously feel like they're overgiving and it's from like a conscious place, but that's really, I would dare say that's majority of the time not the case. It's not always a conscious thing. So let's start talking first about the root of this, the root of the overgiving, why we always put other people first. And I think a lot of this we know the answer to, but I want to dive into it anyway. Most women, especially high achieving women and entrepreneurs, have been conditioned to give more than we receive. Why? Well, from early childhood, many of us were taught that our worth is tied to, remember we talked about that good girl syndrome in the first episode of this series, being that good girl who helps other people before herself, and it requires sacrificing herself to help other people, right? That's being the good girl, being the caretaker, the nurturer, the problem solver, right? We are conditioned to be the caretakers and the nurturers. And I'm not saying there's anything inherently wrong with that, but the way that we've been conditioned to take on that role is we have to sacrifice ourselves in order to do that. And it's also this conditioning around avoiding being seen as selfish for prioritizing our own needs. And this is the generational thing that's been programmed within us, that taking care of ourselves is selfish. And there's research that backs this up. Women are socialized from a young age to be caregivers, prioritizing the needs of others above their own. And studies show that women are more likely than men to engage in, I have this from a study, quote, unmitigated communion, which is a phrase that describes the excessive focus on others at the expense of the self. And studies are showing that women are much more likely to do that than men because of society, right? It's how we've been conditioned. It's what we've been programmed with. And because of this conditioning, we learn to pour into other people at the expense of ourselves. We give. But when it comes to receiving, we feel uncomfortable or we feel guilty or we feel undeserved and we feel like we haven't earned it, right? Remember, there's that worthy thing coming up. We're not worthy. We haven't earned it. We haven't done enough. And I think a lot of times too, if the guilt thing doesn't resonate with you, being uncomfortable, a lot of times it's uncomfortable. It just doesn't feel natural. So here's where it gets interesting, because overgiving is not just a personality trait, it's a nervous system response. And I want this to land in your brain, right? Listen to me again. Overgiving is not just a personality trait, it's a nervous system response. If you grew up in an environment where love and validation were given when you were being helpful, responsible,
successful, I'm using quotes here, successful, your nervous system is wired to associate safety with overgiving. Remember, we talked in the first episode about safety, that safety and productivity, that wired together. Well, there's also this wiring. This is another wiring that has to be rewired, is associating safety with overgiving, right? And because that's where we've been giving the validation, that's where we've been given the praise when we've overgiven, and you've been helpful, responsible, successful. And that responsible word can be such a trigger word for people. This was actually something that I've done some work with, and this mentor, this human design mentor that I've been working with, we did a whole thing. I want to say it is the end of last year about responsibility. And there's a little group of us in this little mentorship group, and we did this whole training, like rewiring thing and breathwork session around responsibility. And everything that goes along with that. And I think, and I had never really associated responsibility as being a triggering thing for me per se. A lot of people do, because whether, if they grew up in an environment where they were forced to grow up quickly and they had to be responsible for younger siblings or maybe their parents at a young age, right? Responsibility can be a trigger, but it can also be a trigger too in our nervous system when because we were responsible. That's where we got validation. So when we did the responsible thing, when we were being helpful, when we were doing right, if you get the love and the validation because of that, there's a wiring that happens in the brain that associates safety with overgiving, and that responsibility can be a trigger there too. So that means that every time you slow down, every time you say no, every time you prioritize yourself, every time you put yourself first above someone else, your body can actually perceive it as a threat, as an existential threat, even if logically you know that you need rest. Like, you're logically in your mind, you're hearing your body. You're like, yes, I hear you. My body is saying you need rest. And on a logical level, you know that that's the safe thing. But on a subconscious level, your body perceives it as a threat. It sounds outrageous. On a conscious level, it sounds completely ridiculous and outrageous. Yes. On a subconscious level, that's how it's wired. And so studies show that as that self-silencing, which is a behavior where women basically suppress their own needs to maintain relationships, leads to increased anxiety, to stress, and physical illness. Studies are showing that this self-silencing, suppressing your own needs leads to physical illness. I don't know what other evidence do you need that what is showing up on our physical body is literally related to the fact that we're putting ourselves last. Like, hello, right? That the studies are showing it. So the result of this, chronic stress, hormonal imbalances, digestive issues, anxiety, brain fog, all the things, all because your body has been wired to believe that safety equals constantly giving, constantly sacrificing yourself, constantly overgiving, and putting yourself last. Okay, I just want that. I feel like there needed to be a dramatic pause there to let that soak in. So if you've ever felt anxious when someone offers you help, or guilty when you take time for yourself, that's your nervous system running on an old paradigm that says, I am only worthy when I am giving. That's the programming, right? And if you've ever felt that it's difficult to accept the help, the support, whatever, that when you know you need it, right? That's the programming. Most women don't even realize that they struggle to receive. And that's what I said at the beginning. And so I said, like, if you feel like this episode isn't for you, just keep listening, because most of the time it's not on a conscious thing, because it's not just about money or support or rest. It's about our core beliefs around worthiness itself. And so the receiving piece is on such a subconscious level that so many women don't even realize that that's what's happening. So let's look at why so many women find it so difficult to receive. And one or more of these will probably resonate with you. First, there's the cultural conditioning piece that we kind of, like we talked about in the first episode. There's cultural conditioning, and women have been conditioned to prioritize others first, whether this is through family roles, caregiving, societal expectations, generational expectations, right? A study from Harvard, a Harvard study found that women rate themselves lower than men in self-promotion. We talked about that in the first episode, often downplaying their achievements. So we know that. Okay, that's cultural conditioning. Second, hyperindependence. This is a big one. Hyperindependence as a coping mechanism. And I've been guilty of this plenty of times before. Like, oh, I just do it myself. Okay, many women develop this hyperindependence as this survival response, especially if they've experienced situations where relying on other people led to disappointment or it led to harm. So if you've been disappointed by others at any point in your life, the hyperindependence will show up. And it doesn't even have to be anything big, right? So a lot of times in business, it can be as simple as I've hired people before to do this particular job or task, and I've been disappointed time and time again. So I'm just going to do it myself, right? This I'll do it myself mindset is actually a trauma response because your body doesn't feel safe to ask for help, to seek help. And, this brings a book to mind. If you've ever heard of Darren Hardy, Hardy. I'll think of it and I'll put in the show notes. Anyway, there's a book called Who Not How. And that's the whole concept of the book is letting go of this hyper independence. And the right question to ask is who, not how. It's who. It's finding the right person to help because it's not all about doing it yourself. It's finding the right people to do it well and getting yourself out of that trauma response of I'll just do it myself, because that's what keeps us stuck and frozen and stagnant, and he will keep your business plateaued if we're talking about business here, right? Now, the next one I want to go to is the fear of vulnerability. This is a big one. Receiving requires trust, right? Trusting that we are safe, trusting that we won't be judged, trusting that the support won't be taken away. But many women equate receiving with weakness, making it emotionally uncomfortable to help, to allow it in. So this vulnerability piece, man, this is a big one. And there's Brene Brown I mentioned her before. She studies shame. And so she has a whole talk, many talks actually about vulnerability and how this vulnerability piece is so linked to shame and requires so much work around shame to let go. Because it does. The fact is, in order to receive, there does have to be a trust on the other side. Like I said, trusting that we're safe, trusting that we're not going to be judged, trusting that support we're asking for isn't going to be taken away. And so it requires a vulnerability of being able to ask and to risk the perception of being seen as weak, and also letting go of shame, any shame or guilt around asking for help. And this fear of vulnerability and this hyper independence piece are so tightly linked, because this fear of vulnerability will cause you to be hyper independent. And that I think that's what it was for me. For me at the beginning, I feel like in my brick and mortar business, I wasted years of trying to figure everything out myself and not asking for help. And in a way, like I should have asked for coaching and mentorship sooner. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't go to business school. I had no idea. I was flying by the seat of my pants. And I know many people build very successful businesses that way. But in my opinion, there is time wasted in just trying to figure it out on your own when there is help available. There's help out there. There are mentors and coaches and people who've been there that are out there waiting for people to ask them for help. So it requires this vulnerability of saying, hey, I can't do this all myself. I'm one person and I don't know everything, right? There is this vulnerability that has to happen. And this is with anything, with your kids, with your housework, with your whatever it is. It doesn't have to just be about business. There's a vulnerability that's required that can be really hard for women, because the other thing is, we talked about in the first episode of this series, is there's this perception that many women feel like they have to live up to, that they have to be able to do it all well and look really hot while they do it, right? So there is a place for us to be able to look at ourselves and be like, you know what? I can't do it all. And it's okay. I don't have to do it all. It is getting uncomfortable with that vulnerability piece and receiving the help that's on the other side of that, right? Now, I want to say one more statistic that I saw that I want to share with you. There was a 2024 study that found that 76% of high-performing women received negative feedback compared to just 2% of men. This makes women feel like we have to work twice as hard, take on more, overcompensate instead of delegate. So if that is a true statistic, that many more women receive negative feedback compared to men and like the job that they're doing, right? Their performance that they're doing. Like, oh my gosh, that's insane. So no wonder we feel why we feel like we have because even if we don't specifically know that statistic, the narrative is there. The narrative is there, right? The structure is there, the belief is there, it exists. So we already feel like, well, I gotta work harder, I gotta take on more, I gotta do more and prove myself, prove my worth rather than delegate or ask for support, right? That's there. So women have been conditioned to overgive, overwork, overprove their worth while being told that receiving is selfish, lazy, weak, right? All of those things. And this is why so many of us are struggling with exhaustion and chronic stress because we feel like we just have to keep giving and giving and overworking and overdoing and prove because all of that is proving our worth. Your body is always communicating with you. And if you're constantly giving and you're struggling to receive, your body is going to reflect that depletion in the form of exhaustion, stress, and imbalance. It will 100% show up on your physical body and will manifest itself in physical symptoms. We talked a little bit about this in the last episode, but I want to reiterate it here. When you're in a constant state of stress or a constant state of overgiving and overdoing and overgiving and overdoing and overachieving, right? This is what happens to your body. First, adrenal fatigue is somewhat inevitable. I feel like it's inevitable because your body's going to stay in this fight or flight, leading to burnout, leading to hormonal imbalances, right? So the adrenal fatigue is inevitable, right? You're in that stressed out state, you're in fight or flight, your adrenals are working in overdrive for a long time. And that's what happened to me. That was after I told my story in one of the episodes of how I'd done all the work in my gut and then all these other physical things. It was the adrenal fatigue was real. My adrenals were in the toilet, barely, I mean, really honestly, barely functioning. I had producing very little cortisol. And so, yeah, it is inevitable. Mineral depletion, also inevitable. Chronic stress drains your minerals and it's going to drain the key minerals that you need the most, like magnesium, potassium, and sodium. I mentioned in the last episode. Anxiety, brain fog, bloating, digestive issues, hormonal issues, energy issues, brain fog. I think I said that. Like all of those are going to be all of those are the mineral balances are contributing to all of those. And the depletion, if we're working in overdrive, we're overworking, overdoing, over constantly proving, right? That's what happens. Slow digestion, which again, kind of the mineral depletion, the slow digestion kind of go together, but your body is going to deprioritize digestion, leads to bloating, to gut issues, poor nutrient absorption, because it's going to prioritize like making your heart pump and your lungs move to make you breathe, right? When you're in fight or flight, your body's literally going to prioritize the most important things, which is your heart, your lungs, and then that reptilian part of your brain that's going to get you to either fight or flee, right? Or freeze, right? One of those, fight, flight, or freeze. So things like digestion, things like reproduction, things like your immune system, all of those are like bottom of the barrel, bottom of the list here now. There's not a priority. Your body in fight or flight, the opposite of fight or flight is rest and digest, right? Literally rest and your body's not resting or digesting if it's in fight or flight. It is physiologically impossible for that to happen. So digestion is not a priority. And the nervous system dysregulation, of course, your nervous system is dysregulated. So being in this high alert state all the time is going to make it almost impossible to fully relax or feel at ease. So this is what is happening on your physical body. Now, all of this can be caused by simply, and I just say simply because it's an easy state to be in, this overgiving, because it's so natural to us. It's so innate in us. And this is what happens to your physical body. And so we want to say, like, oh, I'm just getting older and my hormones are doing this and that. And no, you have a problem receiving and you're overgiving. You're in this cycle of overgiving and you do not recognize your worth, bottom line. And this happens with so many of my clients. It's happened with me. I've told my story before. So there's a client, and this client that I'm thinking of worked with her a while back for a long time. We actually worked together twice. And she had a very high stress job, and she was dealing with a lot of things. Hormonal things were her main complaint. PCOS, she'd been diagnosed with PCOS, and she didn't have a whole lot of symptoms, but she was also on birth control, so I really feel like it was just masking most of the symptoms. But she wanted to get off her medication, she wanted to get off birth control, and she had tried to get off birth control before, and it was just like a tragic situation. She's like, well, I can't do that again. So she wanted to help heal things, and she'd done diets, she'd done supplements. She was having sleep issues, she was having some bloating, digestive issues, energy issues. And yeah, just overall hormonal imbalances. She had done some diets and supplements, and she was going to a therapist, right? She was taking care of her mental health. And she had some hard relationships. She was coming out of I would consider it a narcissistic relationship. And she had started a new relationship and they wanted to start a family together. Anxiety was the other thing. That was the other thing. Anxiety was something else that was really big for her. And her HTMA, so many minerals depleted. I mean, the poor girl there's so many the imbalances, depletions, all of it, her adrenals. And so it was clear what her gut. She had a ton of stuff in her gut. She had parasites and all kinds of imbalances in her gut. So it was clear that her body was kind of in this, if she wasn't already in burnout, she was headed that direction, right? Which is why when she got off the birth control, her body freaked out and was like, nope. Because that's what happens with birth control. Birth control, yes, birth control can help with symptoms, but it's a band-aid. It's masking what's really going on under the surface. So when you take off the band-aid, it's still like an oozing wound, right? It's just like, ugh, it's just out there. So that's what happened when she tried to get off birth control. And I'm pretty sure she tried a few times. She tried it and then did some work, tried it again. Anyway, it was not happening. So she really wanted some help and some guidance. And so it was clear that her body was in this burnout pattern. And so we did a lot of work. Obviously, we did, the mineral balancing, we did the gut stuff, and there was a lot of work to do there. But the big thing for her was this deep subconscious programming. Because the other thing is she was overgiving at work. And like I remember we would have to schedule sessions like late, or we'd have to find, it was just like odd times to do it because she wouldn't even take a lunch break half the time. Like she wouldn't take a lunch break, and she felt like she couldn't take calls at work, and she couldn't, right? It was just, she was always on the go. And her human design, she was a projector. And that is like, oh my gosh, like that is a recipe for disaster in the body if you're a projector operating like that. So the first thing we did was, okay, let's understand your human design. So diving into her human design, but really and truly the big piece is that deep subconscious reprogramming about worth and receiving. There was so much, and it came up when we were diving into, actually it was when we were looking at her human design is when this came up, and she really wanted to dive into like her incarnation cross and a couple of things, but the worthiness piece and the receiving piece, oh my gosh, there was so much tied into that. And a lot of it was just conditioning from, family, generations, whatever. But a lot of it too was from her previous relationship and being in, again, what I would say is a narcissistic relationship. She had lost all sense of self-worth because she was in this job. The other piece I left out, she was in this job, but she really, her dream, she had this dream to go out on her own and start her own business. But she felt like she needed to keep proving herself at work because she was always trying to like impress her boss and get the accolades and achieve these things. And she had achievements at work, and that was what she felt like she needed to keep achieving those to prove to who, I don't know, I guess herself, that she could leave and go out on her own and do her own thing. And it was draining her. It was literally draining her. It was draining her body of everything. It was draining her soul. So it was that deep subconscious reprogramming about worth and receiving and recognizing her inherent worth, how to let go of these patterns of all the things that she had her worth tied up into, her achievements, her accomplishments, her productivity, her everything she was doing, she was constantly doing. And I'm not kidding, within weeks, her digestion improved, her hormones, she got off birth control 6 weeks into us working together, got off, had her first normal, amazing period she'd had in years. And like I said, she had tried to get off birth control before and it was just a disaster. So that's the power of, yes, we're seeing what's going on with the labs and seeing what's happening in her body, but it wasn't even that because she'd done stuff before. It wasn't like she'd never tried to do anything with, supplements and nutrition, all that stuff before. It was that deep work accompanied by the other stuff, of course, is a combination of everything in conjunction with that. It was that deep subconscious reprogramming that really set her body on the trajectory to do what she wanted to do, which was eventually leave her job, create a family, get off birth control, right? And she started doing all those things. Like the birth control thing was such a huge win that gave her the confidence to start doing all the other things that she wanted to do. So you see that it's not just about these focusing on the physical parts of the body, right? There's so much more to it. And I think when we can finally realize and understand the connection between our emotional and energetic body and our physical body, when we can finally recognize that connection and acknowledge that connection and recognize how much that affects our physical body. And when I say emotional, energetic body, that to me, those are one and the same. I've mentioned this before, but if you have never heard me talk about that before, emotions are just energy in motion. So your energetic body, emotional body, for me, it's one and the same. And when we can finally recognize and acknowledge how those are attached and tied, and really it's all of it, when we look at the body holistically, the physical, the mental, the emotional, energetic, and the spiritual body, how all of those are connected. And when one body is hurting, one of those, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, then the other ones are hurting, right? You cannot separate them. You can't separate them. They are one and the same. And when we can finally address that or acknowledge that, then we can address our well-being from this frame of mind from that holistic frame of mind that I'm talking about. And we can stop wondering why our symptoms keep coming back and why we feel like we've done all the things, but nothing's working. It's because we haven't gotten to the other parts that are affected, right? Our emotional, energetic body. It's that reprogramming that has to happen to shift. When you reprogram your mind, you are literally rewiring how your brain is functioning. You're reprogramming yourself at a cellular level. Your cells operate differently when you do the subconscious reprogramming. That's literally what's happening. I talk about Joe Dispenza all the time, and I'm telling you, if you want to know the science behind all of this, just go read one of his books. So there's so much in there about the rewiring of your brain, and it is literally making your body operate completely different at a cellular level. That's it. So this isn't woo-woo weird stuff talking about, oh, let's deal with your subconscious brain, your subconscious mind, and your energy and your emotions. Is literally what's running the show. It's what's running your nervous system. It's what's running your physical body. It goes down to that. So that being said, I want to leave you with one little shift today, one little exercise. Then I did a little exercise in the last episode, and I want to leave you with a little somatic work on this episode too. So talking about on that same topic of receiving. If you feel like, I don't even want to say that. I don't even want to say that. Let me back up. Every woman needs to do this because whether or not you've already done some healing on the receiving stuff, there's always room for improvement. There's always room for more. There's always room to open up to even more receiving. And so this practice is the receiving breath, this receiving breath practice. Again, super quick. You could do this in like 4 to 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be a big, long thing. So if you can sit comfortably, and again, if you're reading or not reading, if you're working or driving or walking or you're not somewhere where you can sit comfortably, then come back and do this later. But if you're somewhere where you can sit comfortably with your hands open, palms facing up, the receiving pose. So maybe you're sitting crisscross, but that receiving, and you know what's crazy? I did a yoga class. This was years and years and years ago, but she was talking about receiving, and we kind of did some breath work with receiving. And she said, the instructor was saying that even sometimes people even have a problem with that position, just sitting with your palms face up and that receiving position. It doesn't even feel safe to do that. It's crazy, right? Your body doesn't even feel safe to be in a position to receive. So, first off the bat, if you're struggling, if you feel resistance just sitting with palms facing up, that's first clue that we need to do some work with receiving, right? But that's where we're sitting. So, we're sitting in a comfortable position with your palms facing up. And then start taking slow breaths. So, just like in that other somatic exercise that we did in the other episode, if you can start taking slow breaths in through your nose and exhaling out through your mouth. But I want you to imagine when you're breathing in through your nose that you're inhaling this energy of receiving. You're breathing in that energy of receiving. You're putting yourself in that energy of receiving. So receive, inhale to receive, hold your breath for 3 seconds at the top, and then feel into any resistance or discomfort around receiving. Then exhaling slowly through your mouth, letting go of the belief that you must give to be worthy, right? That's the mantra that you're keeping in your head as you're going through this. So you're inhaling, breathing in that receiving energy, holding your breath for 3 seconds at the top. Feel into whatever resistance or discomfort is coming up. Exhaling slowly through your mouth, and you're letting go of the belief that you must give to be worthy. Do this for just 3 rounds and allow yourself to really feel and embody the safety of receiving. And I want you to take a minute after you've done this. If you want to do it for more than 3 rounds, like if you feel safe doing it for, set a timer for, 3 minutes or something. So if you feel safe, then do it longer. But I want you to give yourself time after to contemplate. And it's important for all of these exercises. So in a lot of this somatic work, like I do with my clients too, it's not just about the work itself and doing the work itself. It's what comes through after that as well. So allowing yourself time to contemplate. And if you have time to do it right away afterwards, that's ideal. So if you have time to journal or pray, meditate, whatever, think on it, right? Journaling is going to be really powerful practice afterwards. But giving yourself time to really feel into it. Because if you're doing it just to do it and you're not thinking about what you're doing and thinking about what's coming up for you, then it's honestly kind of pointless because you're not able to reflect on what the learnings are. But if you're able to do it and then reflect on it and contemplate, this is the point. This is where the growth happens. This is where the growth and the evolution happens. So if I'm doing this breath work and I did it for, however, I set a timer, right? I did it for 2 minutes. And then I give myself set another timer for, 5 minutes or something afterwards and let myself journal. I can journal it out. I can feel into, okay, how did it feel when I was taking that inhale into receiving? And when I was holding my breath, where did I feel the resistance? Where did I feel the discomfort? And then how did it feel when I was letting go and saying that mantra or the affirmation, letting go that I must give to be worthy? Like, how did you feel in each of those 3 stages of this little breathwork pattern? Because here's where the learnings are. Here's where the growth opportunities are. And like I said, if you're doing it and you're just doing it just to do it, there's not going to be any growth on the other side. And it's you're just not going to get anything out of it. The intentionality and the curiosity and the intention and attention to the growth, that's what happens. Because these can be just dumb little practices, right? They can be just woo-woo, they can be just pointless, they can be like it doesn't do anything. Or we can go into it with an open mind and with curiosity to see what's there for us to learn. And so I challenge you to do that. Take the opportunity to do the practice, but be intentional with the practice and see what awareness comes through. If you can stay open-minded and be curious about it, what comes through on the other side? Because it might be, okay, maybe for me, that inhaling the energy of receiving, that was the hardest part. I felt weird inhaling it. Or maybe it was the holding and really feeling into any resistance, right? Maybe it was the holding. Maybe it was the exhale. Maybe the exhale when you were saying that mantra about but letting go of the belief that I must give to be worthy. Maybe that's what felt the resistance. And here's where we have the opportunities to learn. Is it the receiving? Is my worth tied to receiving, right? There's so much there for you. So again, I challenge you to go into that breath work and really be intentional about it. Like if you're walking or driving or doing something right now, you're working, go back and do this and give yourself time to do it. And understand that healing starts, like true healing and evolution and growth, which I believe is why we're here on this planet. It's for evolution, it's for growth, or we wouldn't be here. Your soul chose to come here at this time for growth. And there are lessons and growth opportunities that God has planned for you that we're meant to experience in this life. And the healing starts when you allow yourself to receive. The growth happens when you allow yourself to receive. So the more you practice this, the more your body is going to shift into this state of healing and flow and ease. Right? That's where it happens. And that's where the growth happens. The growth in your business, the growth in your career, the growth in your relationships, the growth in your personal growth, right? We have no idea what opportunities await us, what opportunities are on the other side of us allowing ourselves to receive and to be able to heal and to let go of this paradigm of connecting our worth to doing and our worth to productivity and having to earn the ability to receive or whatever it is, earn the chance that we have to do something in order to receive. We have no idea what's on the other side of that. You have no idea what opportunities await you on the other side of that. And it can be hard. This journey and all these untangling and rewiring. I'm not saying it's going to be easy and it's going to be an easy journey, but it's worth it because this is why we're here. This is why we're here. It's the growth, it's the learnings, the opportunities. So dive into this work. And as always, I want to hear what's coming up for you from this series. I want to hear from you. So DM me the word worth to get on the list for what I have coming on the other side of this conversation, on the other side of this series. And I want you can also DM me to share, what are you seeing coming up for you? What's coming up for you around worth? Where are you seeing your sticky parts? Is it the overgiving like we talked about? The overgiving, is that a thing? Are you having trouble with boundaries? How are you seeing this show up in your health journey? How are you seeing this show up in your physical body? DM me and share, or reply email if you don't have Instagram. And same, if you want to get on the list for what's coming next, DM me worth or email me. You can just email me the word worth. You don't even have to send me. You don't have to say hello or anything. Just email me the word worth. If you're emailing me, so I can put you on the list. And just know that if you are ready right now to break this pattern, if you're ready right now to heal your body on a functional, energetic, subconscious level, I have the tools for you. I have the support ready for you. I have limited spots opening up for my one-on-one energy reset sessions, and I'll talk more about these I'll talk even more about these in the last couple episodes. But if you're ready now, I don't want you to have to wait. So if you're ready now, we're going to go deep into your health, your worth patterns, all your patterns, and your body's unique healing blueprint. So you can DM me reset or email me reset, just the word reset, and I'll send you the details now. So no need to wait. If you're ready to go now, then let's go. If you want to get dibs on what's coming next, DM me or email me the word worth. And I have 2 more episodes linked to this conversation that I'm really excited to bring you. And we're going to dive even deeper into untangling this worthiness piece and how to shift into this new paradigm where we're not attaching our worth and we can let go of all of these things in the physical body because we're stepping into new paradigm. So I'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to Hopeful and Wholesome, y'all. If you found value in this week's episode, please subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave a review to let me know what you thought. I'd love to know what you find useful in these episodes so I can know how to provide the most value I can to my listeners. And if you have topics you'd like to know more about, I'd love to hear those as well. So shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. It's at TheHopePedraza, or you can visit my website, hopefulandwholesome.com. Thanks, y'all.